Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with his good friend, Matt, the lumberjack landlord. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing awesome, Mike. I'm really excited to talk about this actually.
Yeah. So one of the, he is a great investor. His name's Ken McElroy. I mean, Ken McElroy is one of the first books I read 20 some odd years ago. So much respect. He's a great multifamily investor, syndicator,
Yes.
all of that. Part of the Rich Dad family, I'm sure. But he actually put out a very interesting video, I think last weekend. He just had an event, which some of my followers went to, and I was people were texting me or messaging me right during the session, basically that Ken is calling for rent increases in Class A properties because of higher interest rates, which he might be right. So again, Ken McElroy is calling for higher rents. I want to talk about apartments versus singles because I think there's a bifurcation. In all fairness, I don't play in Class A. That's where Ken dominates. So I can guess, but it is completely a guess. But if I were to come to you and say, Matt, Class A apartments in 2 years will be higher, 5% higher than today, would that shock you? What would you think?
5% higher, no. Much more than that, yes.
Oh, wow.
I think that other rents in other sectors outpace it. So I'll bet against Ken again. He already owes me his empire anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
At
40%
crash call. But we'll give him a second chance. We'll let him go double or nothing. And so here's what we're looking at. What I believe is going to happen. There is plenty of A. I disagree completely with Jonathan Twomley. There is plenty of A's that are going to trade down. They're going to have to. It's not a want to thing. It's a have to thing. Number one. Number two is I think the best asset where you're going to see the most price appreciation is B's.
Yeah.
B's is where you're going to see the most price appreciation. Number two. And number three is you're going to see in the smaller multifamily, i.e. duplexes or single families, you're going to see the largest increase there because they're going to make that, hey, listen, I know we didn't buy it, but we at least were able to rent it. And that gets them into a single family home or a duplex where there's one shared wall where quite frankly, you can't ever hear your neighbors if it's a nice enough building. And that's where I think there's going to be a significant increase. Now, leading that charge, I think is going to be single families.
Yeah.
Is going to lead that charge. But I think duplex is not going to be far behind because in my market, what's actually shifted is the price that you get for rent for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house used to be about 40% higher or 30% higher than a 3-bed, 2-bath duplex. Now it's within 10%.
Oh, wow.
I think that because of that gap, I think that people from the A class will be able to bump that up in the B class. And I think that's going to start to drive a widening gap. But I think that rising tide is going to continue to lift all boats. And I think that you're going to see those duplexes continue to rise as well.
Yeah. And again, in all fairness, I did not see Ken McElroy's speech. He might've been talking about Class B. I don't want to misrepresent, but when I look at I really bifurcate because I own both apartments and houses and, small multis. When I look at what's coming, right, this is kind of Ivy Zellman stuff. I don't think there's any question. The stuff that's coming to market is all Class A. It might even be Class A plus if that's a thing, right? It's the best of the best. I think that people over the next 2 years, given I think we're heading into a recession at best case stagflation, I think there's going to be less of a willingness to get A plus right there. Because again, higher gas, higher food, higher childcare, higher everything, right? So I think you're right. And if Ken, again, full credit, he may have been talking about Class B. I do think Class B has, of the apartments, I do think it's the highest rent bump going forward. Because again, I think you trade down on purpose. You don't build Class B, right? So it's kind of supply and demand. But then if we step down to where you and I play currently, predominantly, I don't think there's any question. I think what we've learned over the last 2 years is the single family home is the greatest financial asset to own. I think we learned that Wall Street and big hedge funds will buy directly from builders, build for rent. I don't see any trend that kind of backs that off nationally speaking. There may be cities that have problems, which we talked about in episode 2. But I think the single family home goes up. And again, a lot of it is because of affordability. Affordability is a big, huge problem. We're talking 2006 problem. And what that means is you're going to get a no answer from a bank, or you're going to say no because you're scared, right? A lot, I'm scared of my job or my husband's job or wife's job or whatever. you're going to like, I'm going to rent for a year. I think there's a lot of that going on right now, honey.
Yep.
We're not going to live in an apartment, but let's go rent the house down the street just for a year. We don't know how bad this is going to be. Let's just rent, but we'll have a backyard for the kids and you know, a garage for our car.
Exactly. Yep.
So I think houses, again, you know, wild ass guess as anyone else's. I think houses see the biggest rent increase if we look 2 years out, followed probably by Class B. But man, it's crazy to think about, right? Affordability purchasing is actually going to cause rent bumps in housing. I don't know. It's weird, right? And again, inflation can make you rich.
Right.
Another example.
Yeah. I think it's largely like what we saw in 6 and 7, where people were getting approved for a bunch of loans they shouldn't be getting approved for. And people are going to naturally, people become more conservative when it's about to hit the wall.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the A's go down to B's, the B's stay in the B's.
They stay because they don't go to C. Yeah.
They don't want to go. They're not going to go to C. Still some of the C try and move up. Still some of them move up because they
can. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, I largely see B being the space, which is really kind of a lot of where I'm at. And I'm watching these, new buildings, looking at the prices, $2,000 for 1 bedrooms. And I'm getting $2,200 for 3 bedrooms.
Oh, wow.
I have all the pricing power in the world. They have none.
Yeah, exactly.
They can't rent for $1,500 and still make the nut and cover the costs.
Yeah.
So I can rent for $1,500 on a 1 bedroom. It's not as nice. So I'll take a discount at $1,300 and I'm still making bank and they can't do it. Yeah. They can't do it. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to kind of watch that continue to unfold. But I think that that's exactly what's going to happen. And I think largely speaking, I think that that's going to be the single family market that's going to be in is the median to below housing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So it just does nothing but continue to create a real tightness in that median and below housing, because you have the investors, first time home buyers, and now you're going to have A class or B class people saying, all right, my rent's only 10% less in this unit now. I might as well just rent a house. Yeah. So I think that's what you start to see.
Yeah. And again, if you're one of my students or followers, please do not assume rent growth. I don't want this conversation to make you beat up your spreadsheet and create fake numbers. Always use actuals. This is just more about acknowledging that I think Ken is right. Right. We called him out when we thought he was wrong. So I want to do the reverse and call him out when I think he was right. I think Ken's absolutely right. I think a shocking twist in all of this is rents will go up because affordability has crashed, which is kind of backwards thinking, but I think he's right. I think Ken's right on this one. Matt, where can people find you?
Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube and Instagram, as well as 11:30 a.m. Sundays Eastern time. We do a live stream.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Mike.